item up is the Auckland Transport update. So good afternoon. Thanks for waiting. So we will hand it over and progress on.
Am I working? Yeah. Thank you, Chair. So I'm joined here today by Murray, who's going to give us a bit of a capital overview, and also we've got Teresa here to talk about safe speeds. We'll try and be speedy, obviously acknowledging that you have quite a bit to get through for the rest of the afternoon. So in terms of public transport, we'll start there. So recent highlights, ferry services, we've had the contracting of the Western package successfully done last month, or concluded at the start of this month, which is a really big step forward and the first successful ferry procurement we've actually had over the last decade, so that was good news. We have had T Committee EV Maritime 1 now handed over to Auckland Transport, so that's currently in testing with the crews and being certified for the crew perspective. We hope to have that in service early next year. There will be some runs that it does do later this year. We have completed our bus driver screen installation, so we now have 1,100 buses out there with safety screens installed. The remainder 20% of the network will be run through over the next year or so as new buses come into the fleet and replace those in circulation. And all our new buses that come into the network have a factory fitted screen. We also launched the Hui Pass, which is a new product which is currently being socialised with conference organisers, as well as working with Tataki in terms of getting that out there and making use of that new product that we have launched, which is good. In terms of how we're performing, we had, and I know we've talked about this in recent months, the last quarter has been very good for public transport, and we actually did meet our SOI target, slightly below, but still within that met range, which was a really good result. June was a very good month for us, and actually we were 3.6% above last year in terms of the end of the year, but bus, as an example, for June was 14% higher than June 2025. Yeah, and 6.3 million boardings on bus alone last month, which is the highest June on record, so the numbers are going in the right direction. We also met fare box recovery, coming from being down considerably to actually meeting that target, which was a really good result. And operational performance is strong, punctuality is exceeding, reliability remained within the target range, cycling's doing very well as well. Obviously we've had a really good winter in terms of weather, and so that's supported both good cycling numbers as well as public transport. Tertiary concession still remains doing exceptionally well, and actually we're 48% in terms of comparative up this June compared to last June, so that's fabulous, and we now have 111 fair share clients. I think our CRL team did talk about, we've got jury and pirata stations coming on board this week too, which is amazing, and I must say there's also new bus services in those regions to support that, including a new addition to our frequent network. I did note some comments in the previous session about Middlemore, and so in terms of that, we have upgraded the lifts at Middlemore. They were actually concluded this month, as well as the pedestrian bridge, so that's all gone really well as well, and you're right, they did needed upgrading, so that has been done. Yeah. I'm going to pass over to Murray now, who's going to give us a brief overview in terms of the capital program.
Thanks, Stacey. I stole my Middlemore thing. And just for Councillor Morris, the EBA has no plans for park and ride at the moment. There was a question you asked earlier. Now, for the capital program, what you're seeing is we achieved 93% of our capital spend for the year for our SOI of 90. What you're seeing is the result of the 4 largest months in delivery ever for AT. And that's coming off the back of a 12-month improvement plan that's been in place in the background, and it's starting to see the results through many parts of the business. Road renewals has reached another record, 490 kilometres resurfaced throughout the network, above its SOI target. Eastern Busway had its sod turning the other day. There's a slight update on the notes that are on paper. We now have agreement with Transpowers, which was resolved in our term sheet last week. So that's all kicking off this week. And then Gosma Drive, which there's been elected rep and local board engagement. There's further local board discussions around that intersection and how the road alignment will work with that intersection. And then the cost-effective awards. So our resilience and land susceptibility framework has received excellence awards for its cost-effectiveness, as well as Western Line is level crossings and planning is due for engagement in the near future. And then if we go on to the next page. Yeah, thanks. And then we're just starting to see some photos of the current achievements on the top left there. Starting to see the stations are starting to come together on Eastern Busway. On the top right there, works on Carrington Road are now underway. And the bottom left and the bottom right, you'll see a number of minor upgrades and renewals that are happening around our network optimisation and some lighting improvements around Smells Farm as well. Just on the next page, there's another, that's Pakuranga Station on Eastern Busway, is now taking shape. On the top right, you'll start to see the GI to Tamaki Drive cycleway bridge is starting to near. You can see the two work fronts starting to close up. And then on the bottom left is Matiatia wharf upgrade, and bottom right is Emily Place construction, is another local board project. That was it. And if I just pass on.
Cool, thank you. So just by quick recap, you may recall that we had done a whole load of speed management a few years back, and I was in this very room about a year ago talking about how we needed to do the reversals. So that's where we were at because the speed limit setting rule had changed. In the interim, we have been meeting with local boards, and we've been meeting with them generally about road safety and what they would like to see within their ward, and part of that conversation has been about speed management and speed limit setting. Lots of enthusiasm and support from local boards on this topic, and we have so far identified 370 priority areas, which covers about 1,600 kilometres of the network. So a big demand for that. If I get the next slide. Great. So there are a couple of risks and challenges. I'll go straight to that. It is a very slow process now under the new speed limit setting rule, and it's quite an onerous, and there's a lot of work involved for staff. We are trying very hard to avoid a patchwork approach of speed limits. We know it's very, very confusing for drivers and for other people, so we really like to avoid that. But all local boards are highly engaged, and we just need to differ. We just need to work at our different preferred approaches on that. Oh, one thing to note is also, under the previous speed limit setting rule, we could set a speed limit of 30 kilometres, which as we all know is survivable. Under this one we can't, but we can set 40 kilometres. So the next steps for the team and I are to complete the analysis for based on safety improvements, travel time impacts, road use and length. We're progressing the speed management plans that we're working through with local boards. There are a couple of roads that we can deliver by the alternate methods. So for example, land use changes around a road means we'll use the alternate method, which is slightly quicker and more direct, and we'll do that road by road. And that's essentially where we're at this point in time. Happy for questions.
Chair.
Excellent, thank you. Questions, Ken?
While you were talking, I was subjected to Councillor Newman beside me here showing me photos of how flash and good all the train stations are in the south. This is someone who's in the west at the Henderson train station, which had $40 million value engineered out of the project on the only line that is legislated to take intensification. When are we going to start prioritising Western Line attributes and facilities?
Thank you, Councillor. I mean, there was still a good investment in Henderson Station and still more to come, and that included, like we do at Middlemore, in terms of upgrading the lifts and the escalators, as you are aware. There's still more work that's happening around that bus interchange part. But the next big thing for the Western Line is, of course, the level crossing removal program, which will improve that. And so community consultations due to begin on that.
But Henderson has got, you know, that intensification around the train station, 15 stories if I'm correct, etc. And the train station had 8 metres cut off the platform. It meant that the bridge, the overbridge going to the western side, to the Tapuna side where we've invested, couldn't go ahead. We have got a bridge there, but then we discover it's an emergency bridge and it's going to stay locked. I just want to bring to your attention the frustration that West Aucklanders feel. Thank you.
Daniel, with this flash news stations. Oh, it is too, sorry. Got ahead of myself. Julie.
Kia ora. So, do we know, you mentioned that there are 6 local boards who are buying in first up. That's great. Do you know who they are? Because we don't.
Whao, Henderson, Massey, Waitakere Rangers are 3 of them, and I can get you the other 3.
Okay, cool. And I just had a question around the bus screens. And the fact that we're not going, my reading there was we're not going to retrofit some of the older buses that are soon to go out of service. My observation is that often our old buses get bought by other companies and they're still in use, sometimes in other parts of the country. Yeah, so I wondered if like, what's the rationale there in not putting the screens in, given that they will actually still be part of the broader fleet somewhere, and I would have assumed that having the screens might increase the resale value a little bit, because other areas will be looking to make the screens compulsory too.
Yeah, fair question, Councillor. And we're the only one that's actually mandated that as far as PTA goes in terms of the safety screens. And so it really is about maximising the local investment for local services. And so therefore that call to not do the 20% was because we know that these buses are going to be moved out of the fleet within the next year or two. So you would have a bit of a sunk cost there. And that resale values for the operator, not back in.
Fair. Okay. Interesting to hear you say the next year or two as well. So these are, you know, when you say there are older buses that are moving on soon, that's the expected time frame. So we'll effectively have 100% screened within 2 years. Is that fair?
Yes, that's correct, because we've been going through a process of retendering our bus network, so that fleet replacement cycle.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And my final question was just around the Hui Pass. How is it paid for? With thinking about integrated ticketing, that's paid for effectively as part of the ticket with the promoter. But how is the Hui Pass stuff paid for?
Yeah, the intention is to use it as a product to sell to conference organisers, and then therefore it's part of their package to the people that attend these conferences in order to be able to get themselves around for that period of time.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea. And I wondered if there's an opportunity there to link it in with the Auckland Cultural Alliance work that we're doing. Desley's online, but it's coming to value for money in terms of linking in with some of our key institutions like the zoo and the museum. And yeah, so there's a whole, you know, so we're cross-promoting. Yeah, I think that would be great. Great. And just, I won't speak to the item, but just to say some really good results this month. Really pleased to see targets being met, and thanks for the good news.
Thank you. Daniel?
Good afternoon, thank you. A couple of questions from me. I mean, this is an update of really what's happened in the immediate recently, but also about some of the new stuff that's coming. I just want to be clear, is AT going to be out of the streetscaping space in Drury by this weekend? It feels to me like there's still a little bit of work to go for AT on that streetscaping on the Great South Road outside the Drury train station. Can you just confirm that you guys are on track there? If you can't, can you email me back? Yeah. All right. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, that station's important with 60,000 people about to move to Drury. So, look, can I just ask, and excellent work that's ongoing at Te Mahia and Takanani Station, What, do you have a date for the closeout of the works there? It feels to me like we're a little bit off there and could be,
Yeah,
feels like a bit of slippage could come in.
I think we're still on plan for mid-August, but I will give you an update. I'll get that confirmed.
I'm sure Councillor Waniata would appreciate that too. Look, I also wanted to understand, I understand that you've achieved a contract milestone with respect to the contracts for the progress of the grade separation for Takanini, whether it's for design only or design and construction for the first of the vehicular bridges. Do you have an update on that?
The Takanini crossings, the road bridges, so that's currently going through an ECI process at the moment with our ECI contractor and designer at the moment. So it's still in early stages, it's still only at concept. So the ECI will go for another 12 months or so.
Sorry, 12 months
Yep.
before better design, and then take the design to market at
The
that point?
the ECI design, so there we have a design JV and we have an ECI contractor, and the two are working side by side on the final solution, and then that'll go through to contract award later next year.
And concurrent to that, do you anticipate you would have closed out the necessary property acquisitions for the first vehicular bridge within 12 months?
Yes.
Okay. And the other locations you are moving expeditiously to achieve
Yes.
all
Yes.
of those acquisitions within the next 12 months, or do you think you? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're working very heavily with that, and look, property is in the capital program with reform is a little bit of juggle. So we're working very closely with the council team and the AT team to make sure those maintain through the capital program.
All right. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Lotu?
Kia ora. Thanks, Chair, and thanks, team. First of all, thank you for the work at Middlemore, the upgrades. That's really, really useful, and it's such a well-used stop as well. So, there is wear and tear over time, so thanks for that. Also, thank you so much, Stacey, for connecting me with Zara. She's now been coming along to our monthly Counties Manukau Community Patrol Collective meetings, so that's really, really been useful. And my question relates to that and relates to the public safety and ambassador program. I think previously I asked about how the program seeks to work with community groups in order to make sure that our bus drivers, but also our passengers in different communities, feel a bit safer, because we do have lots of community patrol groups around the city, across the city. Do you have an update about that and how that's working?
Good question, Councillor. I mean, the idea is to build that network so that the team are working across them all and to be able to utilise that network for the greater good in terms of, supporting public transport too. So part of Zara's work program is actually focused on that. So bringing together some of those local safety groups to be able to share insights, but also work together. Yeah.
Kia ora. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Sarah?
Thank you, and first of all, thank you for your responses to the questions I asked at the last meeting. And before I ask the questions I had, could you repeat the 6 local boards just quite slowly? We all missed about half of
Sorry,
them.
I've only got 3 of them here. It was Fowl, Henderson Massey and Waitakere Rangers.
Oh, that's why I only heard 3. You only said 3. Okay, there we go. Good. So the bus fleet, you mentioned about that and replacing that gradually. Is the plan, and forgive me, I'm sure everyone else knows this, but I don't. Is the plan for the fleet to be fully electrified one of these days? Is that's the idea?
In terms of our bus fleet? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the goal would be, I think we're still 2035, but we'll be meeting that before that. I think right now we've got 427. So our SOI target just gone was for 350, but we brought forward some with obviously the fuel situation in order to maximise what we could do through that period. So we won't see another big uplift until mid next year on that number due to just the cycles of the buses flowing through. But yes, yeah, we only procure new electric buses. Yeah.
Amazing. Second question. Sorry, that was distracting. those 370 areas for the safe speeds, how are those prioritised within that prioritisation?
So we are prioritising first through local boards, because some have a bigger appetite for safer speeds than others, and we need to go also where the most harm is. So there's a whole matrix about how we're prioritising. And then, so what we've done is we've had conversations with the local boards, and we have done our basic assessments where we think the speeds aren't appropriate and safe, had conversations with the local board and see where those join up. So it's slightly on a ward by ward basis, but we have got a matrix that we work through.
Thanks.
Richard.
Kia ora, thank you. It's a bit of a shame because some of the, as far as I can see, the areas people wanting slow speeds, they had them in place and we had to rip them out, and now we're putting them back in. But is my understanding that because we are banned from using 30 Ks, there will be more physical changes to the roads now to meet the harm reduction?
So in some cases, yes. It's not an absolute given that we will be able to put physical infrastructure in, because obviously it's very, very expensive, it's very time consuming. But the Safe Speed program sits along the Safe Infrastructure program. They're the same team and they work together. So those two things do work hand in hand.
Okay, thank you. Fantastic news on the buses, massive increase on the shore as well. And I was going to ask Sarah's comment because I know we're about 100 buses ahead of schedule, so that's great. But do you think, Stacey, that we have the ability to flex post CRL? We're seeing bigger numbers on some routes, and I'm sure some of those feeder routes into the stations will get there, as well as the shore ones that come to this station. Is there flex in the drivers and the capacity to add more as needed? Because I would just hate poor experiences getting to station, etc.
Yeah, absolutely there is. And so, I mean, we keep a close watch in terms of capacity requirements across the network. But there's definite decent capacity still there without adding additional things. But if they do rise up, do we have the flex? Yes, we do. Yeah.
And just on the transition, and I thank you for things like the SMAIL lighting, do you understand how you'll be able to request of us to do things like lighting of walkways and things that have an effect on the public transport infrastructure? Or will you still have enough scope to be doing some of that work in the new switchover?
Yeah, and so, I mean, we will, as AT, still maintain the specification piece. So we'll still specify what needs to be done, and the Auckland Council team will deliver to our work program when it comes to that minor capital piece with public transport. So we have an existing, what we call PSG, around portfolio steering group for public transport. So the idea is that we'll remain that way, so that the teams do work together in that format. So hopefully, well, we're all committed to making sure that that doesn't have a drop in service. Yeah.
And the last question, and I know Joel's gone, but I see Joe's here. Is there a bit more work? I love the work being done on the time differences between places, but is there a bit more work on the bus and ferry network of advertising those connections and reminders that kind of haven't been done since the new network, the bus, or if we add a frequent network? It just feels like we're missing that piece of telling new residents or people that live in an area where the good services are and how they connect.
Yes, absolutely, Councillor. We have an ongoing program in terms, particularly our frequent networks, and making sure that we re-communicate those particular, connections. Right now, obviously, our program is heavily on City Rail Link and, maximising understanding and knowledge of that. But yes, we will pivot back and reconfirm some of those key links.
Morris.
Yeah, just what I raised at the meeting before this was about the park and rides. Do we have an official policy of if you're going to be putting a bus station or engaging a new railway station, is there a document or an official policy that says there is a criteria that whether we'll put park and ride in it or not, or that we will never put park and ride, or is it just a case by case?
Yes, we do, in terms of that. And so obviously we favour the extremities in terms of making sure there's good park and ride facilities, and you'll see that with Pairata and Drury, there's good capacity in terms of that park and ride space. The closer you get to the city, obviously you have much more connections with your bus network. It has been designed as a hub and spoke network. But of course, and I know we've talked about this with, Botany in that area. I mean, we would love to see a park and ride in there some point in the future.
Yeah.
So there is an element in terms of understanding the community needs there too.
The problem is that for the particular Howick ward, the masses of population lie up in the north, Bucklands Beach, Eastern Beach, all out of Half Moon Bay, out as far as Howick, Cockle Bay, Mellons Bay. But when the busway comes over the bridge, it then dives south. And so it doesn't go anywhere near with those. Now, when we've been doing Plan Change 120, we've been putting walkable catchment circles around where the people are and can they get to a bus. There are huge numbers of people, I'm one of those, that can't even get close to a bus from where I live. And yet I would happily use either the busway or the train set if I could go there. Someone used a lovely phrase the other day, if you don't bring the buses to the people, then you've got to allow the people to get to the bus. And we're not doing that. We're putting all these new bus stations in. The usage will be anyone that lives along Te Rākau, great, and we're going to intensify the number that do that. But we've obviously got a formal policy that says no matter what we're going to do, including Botany Town Centre, although it's a long way from where these big population bases are, it's a lot of commercial stuff around Burswood and so on. I just know huge numbers of people in our ward who keep saying, why the hell is there not somewhere I can go to use public transport? So can I get a copy of what our formal policy is on park and ride?
Yeah, absolutely. And just point to note, there was some advice requested through the LTP process in terms of park and rides as
Right.
well. Yeah.
Okay.
John Watson.
Yeah, thanks. And just the talks about the contracts, I'm just trying to get a better understanding of how these pretty substantial bus contracts work as far as the procurement of the buses themselves go. So, there's a uniformity right across Auckland in the way the bus contracts are now would. Yeah. So that involves the company essentially procuring the buses themselves, and they're told how many electric buses they're to get by AT. And the price of the bus then is obviously included in the contract price that's awarded to them. There's no additional beyond that. Okay. So when it comes to end of life or anything, then the money that they get just comes back to them. It doesn't. It comes back to them as a company. They're able to dispose of it as they like, and the money all comes back to them.
Yes, they're capitalised over the life of the contract generally,
Yeah.
to a certain point in terms of that. And so just, I guess the key thing, Councillor, is we're going through recontracting, so the new contracts are slightly different to some of the ones that we have in circulation. So it's like the next iteration of that. And with that, it's not necessarily we specify the amount of buses, we specify the services we need, and they specify then what that peak vehicle requirement looks like, and then of course they've got spares that are attributed to that as well, and then it's, obviously kilometres and time, yeah.
Okay, and given the large number of buses being converted, then obviously we as AT have a sense of what the component is of the contract cost. Like, I assume, like any vehicle, there's a range of how much any given model is. So we are aware of what they're then putting on the road. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so no further questions. Would someone like to move that we received? Thanks, Morris. Seconded, Richard. Any debate? Thank you, team. You can step back. Thanks for hanging around and over the lunch break. Any debate? Any discussion? Okay, I'll put it. Those in favour say aye. Aye. And against, carried. Next one up is we have brought forward the measures that contribute to the transport emissions reduction pathway.